Does Rick of and Morty burp less in later seasons? Yeah. At least that's what I told my two friends who gave up on the show after only watching some of season 1. Rick's burping was the primary reason they gave up on it, with the secondary reason being boy humor. Yes, my two friends are women, and I lied a little bit there when I made it sound like I assured them of less burps later on. Truth be told, the burps didn't have much of an effect on me. Maybe I was just distracted by how well that boy humor was going down. It was my wife that assured them of this. She who tried to watch season 1 with me tapped out because burping, and then returned somewhere in the middle of season 2 and stuck it out enough to recommend it later on. And that's a pretty strong endorsement. Obviously, my wife would not have continued watching if the burp rate was similar, but this is important. I don't want my friends to have incorrect advice, and I hadn't noticed the change in burps myself. And look, I know this sounds like I don't trust my wife's word on this, and that's not it. This is just what I'm like. I'm gonna Google something like this. I think they bought it. Now, I can't be the only one that gets like pre-Google search ideas of what I'm going to find, but I truly imagine finding some admission from showrunners that the burping was reduced in order to get more popular with the female demographic, just based on this small sample of 3 women that met in the same graduate program. I didn't find that. Rick and Morty does skew male, according to Hulu, but not as much as you might think. What I did find was an anecdote about how the creators believed they went way overboard on the burps in the pilot. Oh, and Justin Roiland, co-creator and voice of Rick, saying this.
Like, I feel like if you watch season 1, there's so much more burping than like if you jump to season 4 or 5, it's like insanely less.
That's pretty convincing, but how can I trust Justin Roiland? He even said, I feel like these burps are countable. No, they are, of course, but to watch all 7 seasons, that is a 26-hour time commitment just listening for burps. I don't want to know that bad, but luckily other people have done that. There are edits of all of the Rick and Morty burps. This one from Lapik even puts the season and episode numbers in, so it should be easy to count.
What do you...
Okay, I think I found my limit. This edit is pretty tightly cut. I was just about to take the time codes of when each season changes from this video when I found this. This is the master's thesis of Brooke Kidner, a graduate from the USC Linguistics Department, and it analyzes every burp in the first 3 seasons of Rick and Morty. Now, I really only read the results section and this fun poster of the project I also found on her personal website. And I'm not a linguist, but as far as I understood it, this is to evaluate the burps as intentional or not. The reasoning being that if they are intentional, then they are being used as a type of paralanguage, which is non-word sounds that convey meaning. You know, gasps, sighs, moans and groans, just as an example. It concluded that yes, these burps are predictable and thus intentional, especially since Rick basically never stops and restarts what he's saying when he burps. And there's some theories as to what this could mean in the paper, like perhaps Rick is expressing iconicity, differentiating his speech from everyone else to show how he's the smartest man in the universe. But as always, more research is needed. This research project got some decent media coverage, which is how I found it, and once I knew it existed, I knew there was a dataset somewhere that had what I wanted. Scroll down to the appendix, and yes! Now I can easily make this graph, and also definitively answer that yes, there is by far less burping in seasons 2 and 3. I adjusted the numbers a bit here because this table counts belch tokens per episode, so if there was multiple belches while trying to say a single token, those got combined. I want total belches, but luckily Brooke provided that data in Appendix B. And heartened by this victory, I went and slowed down that burp edit to quarter speed so I could count those burps in seasons 4 on, and hoped that Justin Roiland was right, that season 4 or 5 was truly a ton less. And it was a lot less. Funny enough, it seems that the burps actually went from intentional to unintentional.
Original seasons, I would just get a low alcohol content beer, and then we would leave it open for burp takes. And there'd be certain lines I would circle and come back to and like just get those. It's evolved to the point now where if it happens, it happens. And so there's a lot less of them in the show now.
So it seems like Brooke Kidner was right, but then Rick changed. And that's just character development. So burp haters wondering if you should watch a decade-old TV show for the first time. I'm sure there's not that many of you left. Just skip season 1.